About the running mate headache, and it's also the front page of almost all the dailies as well here. And let me introduce my guest real quick, beginning from my right. Philip Omolo, law, governance and democracy expert, is here. Thank you so much for making time. Elias Mutuma is also here, advocate of the High Court, and Javas Bigambo, political commentator. Asante sana for making time. Let's start off with the standard, and there's a crowded presidential race. Before we get into the running mate conversation, we'll talk about all these aspirants one at a time and find out what value they bring to the particular coalitions that they belong to. But there's a crowded presidential race, and it poses a major nightmare. And I'll start with you, Omolo. Is it practical to have more than 55 people running for head of state, 9 of them under coalitions and the other 46 as independent? That is essentially a pamphlet when it comes to the day for the election.
Let me start by saying good morning, Trevor. I think Kenyans have been surprised to see that so many people have come out to run for the office of president. The first thing we've got to acknowledge is that the office of president is not a joke. In courts, we talk about something called the abuse of court processes. And judges and magistrates are usually not very keen on seeing people who come with frivolous cases that ought to have been settled outside, or whose processes and procedures are demeaning to either court or to individual participants. We can see that there are fellows who have come forth running for office of president merely to abuse this process. I think either they want fame or they want popularity, or maybe, you know, we saw in 2017, we saw the presidential election was challenged in court. And those who had run for office could easily apply to court to be enjoined as interested parties so that they would enjoy the glare of the cameras and then all of a sudden become popular. I think there's a tendency in this country for people to look for cheap popularity. You know it. Make me famous in 2 minutes or make me famous in 5 minutes. A lot of people believe if they go on TV and they are there in the Supreme Court pretending to be interested parties, and I know there are quite a lot of people who are doing it for that sake. It is something that should be stopped. It is, we hope IBC will do a decent job in eliminating some of these jokers so that we can remain with a credible number of people that Kenyans... Because if you do it this way, then you're going to have such a long ballot to accommodate all these names. Some of them, we don't know them. We've never heard of their names. We were struggling even to pronounce their names once they were out there in the papers. So, from my opinion, I think it is a joke. Last time when we were here, we talked about what it takes for people to be leaders, especially political leaders. And I will not fail to mention this. There are 5 things that qualifies or makes people good leaders. Number 1, we must see in you some burning desire for change in society. If we've never seen it, we don't know where you've been when there are critical national issues going on in this country. You never put your voice in the debate. Then forget about it. Number 2, we expect you to understand this change that people are seeking. Kenyans need some change, and that's why the Constitution gives a chance that every 5 years we kick out or give people fresh mandate. If you do not even have a clue what it takes to be a president, just get out of it. Number 3 is you must be available within the political arena. So if you've not been within the political space for the last 5 or 10 years, then all of a sudden you're coming here telling us you want to be president. It is unacceptable. Number 4, we expect you to be able to mobilize a critical mass of Kenyan people to support your vision, your ideas, and what you want to do for the people of Kenya. So some of these folks we are seeing in the papers here, there's not even 20 people standing behind them. And, you know, the expectation that they must gather 2,000 signatures from more than half of our counties, which totals to about 45,000. We want to see if they will get that, and also to pay nomination fees. The last thing is you must be able to mobilize resources to fund the venture. So if you want to be president, you want to campaign in 290 constituencies across this country, even logistical capacity to move from one county to another to spread your agenda. If you cannot mobilize resources to fund that, then forget about it. So I think that's a clear criteria for the people of Kenya to use to kick out some of the jokers from this process.
Okay. But Elias, you know, the law stipulates a few things, okay? Okay, you have to be a Kenyan citizen, 35 years and above, and all that. But it doesn't really limit the number. It doesn't say that only 40 people, 30 people can run for office. So they are within their rights to actually run for president.
Indeed, Trevor, and I think most of these people are in this contest. There are some who are there for, comical purposes. Others are there for nuisance purposes. Others are there just to protest, and like my brother said, others are there just for fame. But I think what we should understand, and it's not proper for us to say that these are aspirants as of yet, because all they have done is to be declared as being independent. The register of political parties does not clear people who are going to vie for elections. Yeah. Our duty is just to declare whether you belong to a political party or you don't belong to a political party. Therefore, you qualify as an independent candidate to run for any office. I dare say that most of these people will fall by the wayside. Yeah. As compliance issues kick in, most of them will not even be able to attempt to even present papers at IBC. When you look at the threshold, it is too high, and it's meant to discourage jokers. For instance, like you said, the 2,000 signatures of independent, because last time I checked the website for IBC was saying those who are supporting you as independent candidate must also be independent, not belonging to any political party. So gathering 2,000 members who are independent from at least 24 counties, it's a nightmare. It's not easy to go around the country just to gather that. Number two, most of them, I do not even know whether they have, the academic qualifications. They do not even have other forms of compliance. So I don't think that we will get there. But to answer your question in summary, is that the law does not in any way limit the numbers. We can have as many numbers as possible, but then only those that are able to comply with the set down rules and regulations.
Javas, what are your thoughts? Because this will cause a lot of confusion. If you're going to have 55 people, then you need at least 3 pages of a ballot paper.
Thank you, Trevor. The interesting thing is that many want to trivialize the executive office of president in this country. And when we examine the Constitution of Kenya 2010, we have got 2 executive offices at 2 levels. There's the executive office at the national level, which is the president, the executive office, the county executive, which is headed by the governor. Trouble is that the quality of individuals who offer themselves to the public or the electorate for purposes of serving in these offices, some of them are just pure jokers. Of the individuals now who've been cleared to contest as independent, rather not cleared but have been cleared, of course, by the political parties registrar to contest as independent, has grown now to 47, possibly even beyond. And you have not added these others coming from other political parties. You're going to have many. Their rights are protected in the Constitution. And of course, specifically political rights are secured by Article 38 of the Constitution. The right to participate in political processes, to contest for any office whatsoever. Question then arises. These individuals who would now want to run as independents, what are they running from? And for whom are they running? Some of them, as a matter of fact, are merely running from obscurity. Some of them want to have colorful obituaries in future, so that it can be said of them that they contested the presidency sometime in their lives. But I think that's petty. We need to realize that presently, the Constitution and the nature and the manner in which a country is led requires serious people, serious character. Now, looking at these 47 or so individuals who desire to contest the office of president as independents, are they made of presidential timber? The answer is no. You do not even see an MCA in some of them. You don't even see a member of parliament in some of them. You do not even see now, critically, president or even deputy president in any of them. If you cannot be seen through those lenses, then why is it that merely for purposes of rights that are enshrined in the Constitution and various electoral provisions, you want to humor yourself and humor the process that now, for that purpose, you also want to run as president? Time has come, I think, we must examine our conscience as a people. And even moving forward, the homogeneity of the institutions that come together or converge for purposes of enabling a free, fair, and clear electoral process, need also just to clear off some of these individuals way beforehand. Now, they have filled the pages of our newspapers. And in a few days, as fellow council has indicated here, is that some of them will not even make a few baby steps. Then is it prudent, is it proper, is it necessary for them to be cleared by the Register of Political Parties? Well, the law provides that they should be cleared. But I think it is a creative wastage of time and opportunity on their part.
Mutuma, should they be cleared by the IEBC? What kind of danger does this portend to the electoral system? Because then it means all the 55 of them, should any of them contest the results, then it has to go through the Supreme Court process.
It should worry us a lot, because when you look at the law, is that once you become a presidential candidate, and should anything happen to you in terms of death, then the elections are postponed by a period of 60 days. And again, should another one die, even after the second postponement, then we go back to the same cycle. So I think it's a bit worrying, and I do not know what kind of security measures will be put in place. But I think the best thing is for us to discourage, for IBC to be strict in their clearance and only pick the best and those that strictly qualify to be a presidential candidate. Yes.
So this means should any of them pass on, unfortunately, then the election would be postponed by 60 days. And within that 60 days, if any other of them passes on, it's another 60 days.
We proceed until the last man standing. That's the unfortunate bit.
Omono, what are your thoughts, especially for the Supreme Court contest? Because if the results are contested, then it's a nightmare for this.
And I think what Council is saying is also important. There's a clear provision in the Constitution that during that time, between the time they are cleared by IBC and the time we do elections, if one dies, then we've got the tragedy of having to postpone elections. So that means, first, the principle is that we need to protect political aspirants from things like assassination, so that anybody participating in the process is fearful. If you assassinate any of the competitors, then the entire election is postponed. But again, it also means that the moment somebody is cleared to run for president, then it is the responsibility of our security system to provide safety and their security. So we are saying that if you've got 50 running, then you have almost maybe each assigned 2 police officers. So you've got 100 police officers who are just aside during this about 90 days taking care of these people. But again, if you fast track it to the Supreme Court, our Constitution also gives us a chance that after the presidential elections results are cleared, then anybody, any Kenyan or any of those fellows who participate can go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. If you do that, what we've observed in 2013 and in 2017 and in the repeat election in 2017 is that all those who ran for president then apply to be enjoined as interested parties in that petition. That would mean about 50 advocates representing them, and each asking for maybe 20 or so minutes to make their submissions, to make their arguments. And then you've got a battalion of judges there also trying to do all this summary. It's actually a nightmare. But nonetheless, I think we need to fear not. As Javas has said, most of these guys are going to be thrown out by the IBC process, because I think we may not call all of them jokers, because I saw on the list there's one of the Kenyan legends, Ruben Kigame. Ruben Kigame is a Kenyan legend, and he's earned presidential recognition. He's also running there. The other thing that we need to check, what are these people running from? Is it just obscurity, as Javas is saying, or maybe there's a protest they're putting across to political parties? We've got Kenya Kwanza that has a dominant presidential candidate. Did they go through a nomination process? They did not. So maybe some of these guys would have participated in that nomination process and fallen off at that stage. Similarly, our own Azimio, we didn't go through a nomination process for the presidential candidate. So it means some of these 50 Kenyans would have participated in the Azimio process and fallen off at that stage. So we need to think again, whether we're having coalition or dominant political parties, when we want to get a presidential nominee, maybe we need not pass that process of nomination so that some of these fellows can be, thrown out at that stage.
Okay. And Bigambo, that it can be the direct opposite of what Molo is saying, that this is a vote of no confidence in the political parties, saying that everybody else who has a vision to become the president do not believe in the party's structures to give them a fair chance. That's why we have a barrage of independent candidates.
Interestingly, we are a democracy. And whether one wants to protest by way of speaking or protest by way of actioning their intents to contest for such high office, it's purely a right that's conferred upon them. But when we look at it through very clear lenses, is it actually a protest? Then why can't we see a convergence of that kind of interest by nearly half of all these independent candidates to bring together, of course they were talking even about a coalition of independent candidates initially, and see that how can they be a boiling pot of that kind of protest? We're not seeing that. But beyond that, have we seen them even stir up the masses with particular interests, focus, or vision? And upon that vision, we can see that it is a clear departure from candidates within leading political parties or coalitions. We have not seen that. In fact, of these slate of presidential candidates that are clear to run as independent, we do not even know where they stand and what they stand for. What ideology drives them? What is it that within the perspective of their mental skies, they have for the future of Kenya for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years? Majority of them have not spoken. Of course, except a few such as Ruben Kigame, as Philip indicates. But the rest have not. And as we asked earlier, for whom are they running and what are they running from? Because if we want to look at it in terms of a protest candidature, then we could see the distinction between the avenue, the pathway of ideals and ideology that they have, and that from mainstream political parties. Today, when you look at Azimio and Raila Odinga, you can associate him with particular thoughts, clarity of vision and ideals. When you look at Deputy President William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza, you can associate him with a particular pathway of thought, ideals and ideology. And that's clear. Of these other independent candidates, we cannot pinpoint a particular pathway of thought, ideals, or even vision that they have for the country, leave alone vision for themselves.
Yeah. And Elias, Dunstan Omari, who's a regular commentator here, also says that, hi, Trevor, tell the panelists that it's the people to decide, and that is what is democracy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, in as much as it is so, I agree, it's democracy and it's the people to decide. But then we're also making it so difficult for the people to decide, because the moment you're giving us a booklet with 47 names, are we able to make a proper choice out of 47 names? And when we are burdening our security personnel with the duty of ensuring that these candidates are taken care of, their homes are protected, their offices are protected, their families are protected, I mean, we are making a joke out of it. And should you also have a rogue aspirant who does not want elections to take place, what do? They just target one of them very easily, and then we do not go for elections. So I think it's important for us to ensure that we bring sanity into the process of even applying and considering who candidates are.
Okay. Omolo, Mari continues to say that those dismissed as jokers have been elected before. Presidents of Ukraine, Seychelles, Somalia, etc.
No. You see, last time when we were with Omari, I outlined a few ways to tell who can be a leader and who cannot be. Those ways need not be enshrined in any law. Omari should also appreciate that it is the people who will ultimately elect the president, but it is the same people who passed a constitution in 2010 and laid down some procedure, qualifications, and processes through which we can elect a president. These same people, the people of Kenya, also created an institution called Parliament, which subsequently makes laws and has made the Elections Act, has made the Political Parties Act, under which the Registrar of Political Parties has given that the first clearance. So we are headed to IBC. IBC must do its work. Every time we talk about the people, the question is, which people are we talking about? So Omari might tell us which people is he talking about who is going to elect. These folks whose names I don't know. By the way, it is not a joke when we say, for instance, that Javas is a political analyst. And if he is a political analyst and he doesn't know some of these fellows, so how do we expect ordinary citizens out there to know them?
Okay.
So I think we need to put an end to this joke, and as soon as IBC can do it, the better for all of us. Steve
Okot says, my worry is with the 46 candidates on the ballot, how will that ballot look like? Will it be a ballot paper or a ballot book? Ole Naitawang says, kindly ask the panelists what will happen in the presidential debate. Javas. This is a Wu-Tang Clan of 55.
Well, first of all, I think he is, very positive. And I like his optimism that all of them are going to be cleared for purposes of actual contest and therefore feature even in the presidential debate. But as it has been done in other countries, the example being the US and other places, as it has been done even in our own country before, it is upon us to determine who actually is serious. Because some of these are just participants, are going to be participants in this election. Are they actually contestants that are serious? And when we talk about the issue of the presidential debate, when the presidential candidates will be dissecting the issues about the governance of this country, the future, the present, the past, the ills that we are facing in governance, and what is it that they stand for and believe in and commit to deliver upon that chance of serving as president, we need to have individuals who mean what they say and actually who are serious about their candidature. We leave it upon the IBC with matters clearance. But actually, if at all we need 2 hours for presidential debate, and then you've got 50 persons cleared to contest as presidential candidates, really, which means then that every candidate will have about only 3 minutes
maximum
all
to arguments speak, and closing
or less to speak about what is it that they intend to serve, to offer this country. Is that practical? Is that actually even sensible? It is not. It will be actually a festival of nonsense if at all we want to have 50 presidential candidates in a presidential debate.
All right. Let's take a quick break here. When you come back, I saw, Butruma, you want to add on to this, but we'll then get into the gist of the conversation. The next deputy president. 2 weeks of jostling and lobbying, that's what they're saying. And there's at least there on the Daily Nation front page, you'll see the people who've been lined up. We'll talk about them one at a time, see what advantage they bring to the side of the political divide that they belong to. We'd like to hear from you as well at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you in just a bit.